Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today I want to do a true story episode about the Freddie Mercury tribute concert that was played in April of 1992. And before we can really talk about the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, I want to start off with a story from Axl Rose's personal assistant, Craig Duswalt. So he talks about in his book, in one of the early chapters of his first day with Guns N' Roses. So he actually talks about how it was in November of 1991. He picks up Slash and he heads down to Axl's house. And basically, when they get to Axl's house, Blake was on the phone. So Blake was Axl's personal assistant at the time. And he heard Blake say, "Brian, Axl and I might have a doctor out there that we think can help Freddie." And this is what he says. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but as the conversation went on, I realized that he was talking to Brian May, the lead guitarist of Queen, my favorite band of all time. I thought, how cool is that? First Slash, then we're on the phone with Brian May. This is going to be awesome. And I hadn't even been introduced to Axl yet. Without going into detail on the very confidential phone call, Brian apparently said thanks for the offer, but Freddie was at peace and was ready to move on. A few minutes later, Axl walked out of his bedroom wearing only a pair of shorts. He walked right past me and asked Blake, what did he say? Blake told Axl the outcome of the call, and Axl rolled his eyes. Axl sat on the couch, lit up a cigarette, and said to me, "Hey, I'm Axl." As if I didn't know, I walked over to him and shook his hand. "I'm Craig, very nice to meet you," and we went to work. Freddie Mercury would actually pass away a few days later, and Craig would say in his book, "I'm probably one of the biggest Queen fans of all time. I don't collect a lot of Queen stuff, but I know pretty much everything there is to know about Queen. When Freddie Mercury passed away, it was a very sad day for me. Axl felt the same way. He was also a huge Queen fan. I had no ideas what direction the next 3 years of my life would take, but I knew it was going to be very interesting. I was right." In fact, Axl was such a big Queen fan, he actually narrated the Queen documentary, Days of Our Lives. So if you guys want to check it out, it's available on YouTube. In February of 1992, at the annual Brit Awards ceremony, Brian May and Roger Taylor announced plans for a concert to honor Freddie Mercury. So when tickets finally went on sale, all 72,000 tickets would be sold out in just 3 hours, even though no performers were actually announced apart from the remaining members of Queen. Now, the concert featured several high-profile acts, including Guns N' Roses. They also included Metallica, Extreme, Def Leppard, as well as musicians Elton John, Roger Daltrey, Tony Iommi, David Bowie, Mick Ronson, as well as a handful of others. So when it was announced that Guns N' Roses were going to be on the bill, there was a lot of controversy. In fact, one gay rights activist group called ACT UP stated that Guns N' Roses shouldn't be on the show because Axl allegedly made some homophobic remarks in the song One in a Million. And it was made more difficult by the fact that Axl didn't talk to the media, so Guns really had to rely on the members of Queen to stand up for Guns N' Roses. So Queen stood by their decision to have Guns N' Roses included on the bill, and in the run-up to the actual concert, Guns N' Roses were asked about the controversy, and here's what Slash had to say.
You're going to London to do the show at Wembley,
doing
the Freddie Mercury?
the Queen thing, and then
That's kind of a controversial date, huh?
It turns out that way. I never would have thought that we were going to get that kind of flack.
Maybe I should just explain really quickly. You're doing a show in London, a tribute to Freddie Mercury for AIDS awareness,
right?
And there are some
gay activist groups that are a little bit appalled, I think is a good word for it, coming from them, about us playing it, and I just wasn't expecting that kind of a reaction. And we're going to play anyway, so.
They're trying to get other artists to either not play or to convince the audience to boo. Have you heard this?
They're trying to get us off the bill or basically sabotage the gig. I don't know exactly what they want to do, or what they're really shooting for, because it sounds so screwy in the first place. I don't think they really know what they want to do themselves.
Well, it'll be interesting.
I know they'll go to press with it and keep it up all the way up until show day, but I don't want to get into the whole subject, but I mean, we're doing it for the reasons that we're doing it. It was, for Freddie Mercury and not, I don't know how to explain it. We just wanted to play the gig, and we were asked to do it, by the Queen people. And we've been supported by, all the other bands that are playing, so we're going to play it, yeah. If that answers, the question.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a hotbed of activity in the Guns N' Roses camp.
It's just screwy stuff to have to deal with. It's like every single day, it's like, oh, yeah, right. Okay, we got to deal with this now.
You guys are a magnet for that, it seems.
Well, yeah, but we don't ask for it. At least we don't purposely go out and ask for it. You know, it comes up and it's just like you're not expecting it.
Let's take a break.
So the AIDS activist group ACT UP London began screeching about Guns N' Roses' participation. They first demanded that Guns be dropped from the bill, then urging other artists to shun them, and then Wembley crowd to actually boo Guns N' Roses off the stage. And that was a concept that the members of Queen found ludicrous. So basically they said, ACT UP will have no influence on the audience whatsoever, said an angry Roger Taylor, and I have a 2-word message for them which I'm prepared to give them at any moment they want. People seem so blind, said Brian May earnestly. Don't they realize that the mere fact that Guns N' Roses are here is the biggest statement that you could get? We think it's time that everybody realizes that whether you're gay or straight, you're entitled to your feelings. You cannot come down on anybody because of the way they feel. That's got to be an outdated concept, and I hope that the concert will help bring that about. And although the audience at Wembley was primarily there to pay tribute to Freddie Mercury, the event's AIDS agenda was never far from anyone's mind. Red ribbons and AIDS awareness sashes transformed the floor of the packed stadium into a scarlet sea. There was even threats against Guns N' Roses, and there was some fear for their safety, but they decided to move forward and actually perform at the show. Now, there were some people who were concerned that Axl may actually address the controversy in between songs. Guns played 2 songs. They opened with Paradise City and closed with Knockin' on Heaven's Door. Now, just before they start Knockin' on Heaven's Door, you can see Duff walk over to Axl and give him a high five as a way of saying thank you for not speaking about the controversy, because the members of Guns N' Roses were concerned that if Axl ranted or said anything, it could take the focus off of Freddie and the actual meaning of the event. Now, Craig Duswalt talked about the event in his book, and he was talking about how he took so many damn pictures with all the celebrities who were there at the event. So he, in fact, forgot at one point he was working for Guns N' Roses. So he said Axl was about to take the stage to sing Paradise City, and I was holding his cool UK leather jacket that he wanted to wear for the song. Usually Earl and I escorted Axl onto the stage, but I heard Roger Taylor say, "Please welcome Guns N' Roses." I was still about 100 feet from the stage. "Oh damn," I screamed. I ran faster than I'd ever run before to get Axl his jacket. When I got to him, I could see that he was looking for my happy ass. I tossed him his jacket, and he just glared at me. I smiled, and I think he was a bit perturbed, but at the moment I didn't really care because he got his jacket in time, and I got incredible pictures. Paradise City was a huge hit, and I know I'm a little biased there, but Guns N' Roses stole the show. They were incredible, and the crowd was usually totally rocking. After the performance, we hung out backstage for a few hours and shared war stories from the road. There were no egos that day, and everyone treated the rock stars and the guys like me with respect. Now, during the performance of Paradise City, Axl actually yelled, "Shove it!" And some people think it's because there was somebody in the audience who had a sign or somebody was yelling at Axl. It was his message to those people who didn't want Guns N' Roses on the bill at the Freddie Mercury tribute show. But according to Craig, the night didn't end there. He said Axl usually wouldn't go out after a show, but because he hadn't performed his usual 2.5-hour show, he decided that he would go out on the town with some of the other stars. We took our limo to a local bar and restaurant. It was Axl, Earl, and me, and we hung out with Liz Taylor, Liza Minnelli, Elton John, and George Michael. I was pinching myself to make sure this was all really happening. We had a few drinks and I think a few appetizers, and suddenly out of nowhere, Axl says, "Let's go." When Axl says, "Let's go," we go. Now, according to Def Leppard's Joe Elliott, Axl was in the room next to us. Elton told us he knocked on his door, and Axl's big security guy said Axl's sleeping. And Elton said, "Well, I'm doing a duet with him in 4 hours," and the guy shrugged his shoulders and shut the door in Elton's face. So Elton comes in our dressing room and says, "What the F's wrong with that guy?" Elton had a little rant and a cup of tea, then he took off. Although this seems to differ from Axl's account of actually rehearsing with Elton, which he stated on Eddie Trunk's show from 2006.
At the Freddie Mercury tribute, you sang with Elton John.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that you were a huge Elton John fan, just from the stuff that you've been doing. How cool was that for you to play with him in front of so many people?
That was amazing, and I didn't know they were going to do that pyro though, and that was really amazing and really fun. But it was pretty intense because meeting Elton came to my room and he sits down on his couch and we start talking about the song, and Elton is like sitting there and he's getting more tense, and he's turning really red and stuff. And because what's going on in his head is like he doesn't know me,
right.
And and this is a big AIDS thing, and and he's dealing with people telling him different stories about me and homophobic or whatever, and 1 in a million and everything, and we're trying to talk, but he's getting more tense, and finally he goes, "I'm a gay man." Okay. And I went, cool. cool. So when we hit the bridge, the song, it's like, and then we were fine. It's like,
Once he told you he was a gay man, then it was okay.
And I was like, peace, I don't have a problem. It's like, okay. So then he was like, okay, all right.
And then I remember when you came out on stage with him, he kind of looked at the camera and went, like, he's cool. I like him. He's a good
and
guy.
We've got along, ever since.
We got to go see Lestat.
I just saw him a little while ago, so he was
Have
great.
you seen the new play?
And Slash would go on stage and play with the members of Queen, as well as Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. They'd play the song Tie Your Mother Down. Slash talked about it in his book. He talked about playing the Freddie Mercury tribute, and he had this to say. He said, "It was a monumental gig, but the most memorable part of the evening was when I took my pants off in front of Liz Taylor. I was in the green room changing, and she opened the door, her entourage in row, and caught me in a t-shirt with no pants on at all. She didn't have a look of embarrassment in the least. She was absolutely devilish. I could feel it in my loins that she was having a look." So in Duff McKagan's book, It's So Easy and Other Lies, he talked about the finale of the Freddie Mercury tribute. So the grand finale sing-along of We Are the Champions happened where everybody basically came on stage, including members of Guns N' Roses. And Duff had this to say. He said, "I was too drunk to talk, too drunk to walk. Elton John literally carried me to the side of the stage, propped me upright, and helped maneuver me out to the stage where almost 100,000 fans awaited the showstopper. About 50 performers lined up in the chorus line with Liza Minnelli singing lead. I remained upright throughout the song, no doubt using the sets of shoulders on either side of me. Then I had to be carried back to my dressing room, unaware of what was happening around me." And Joe Elliott also talked about Duff McKagan. He said, "Duff McKagan was effed up beyond belief. I stepped over him when he was lying on some stairs backstage. He was just a mess. That was after Guns N' Roses had finished their set. I watched it and Duff was flawless. He's a brilliant bass player, but he was mullered." Following the actual Freddie Mercury tribute, members of Guns N' Roses reflected back on playing the actual event. And Wendy Leister, who was actually one of Guns N' Roses' PR people, talked about how Axl was so proud of playing the event. And he actually wrote a letter to Brian May. So Wendy Leister said, "Anybody who imagined Axl was homophobic obviously didn't see him with his arm around Elton John during Bohemian Rhapsody. I know for a fact a few days later, Axl wrote a letter to Brian saying how proud he was to have been part of it all." And later, Slash would be asked a couple months after the event about his thoughts about playing the Freddie Mercury tribute. Here's what he had to say.
Going to see Knockin' on Heaven's Door that was recorded at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Did you the whole thing? But I just you
Pissed me off when Fox did that. They like cut out half the stuff we did.
Did you have a really good time there? I bet you did.
It was, the vibe was great, and it was really great to find out that all those tickets were sold without knowing what the bill was. So it was really for the cause, which was really important, because I think rock and roll has just now learned that it's a heavy-duty issue. I think everybody was trying to ignore it for a long time and think, well, it could never happen to us and all that. And it was nice to see all that support, and even though it was a result of something as tragic as Freddie dying, it was still good to see everybody come together and all that. The whole like pop music social scene was a little heavy for me, so I didn't want to be there unless we were playing. The rest of it to me seemed like a little bit of like who's who of rock and roll and hi and let's take pictures and all that kind of crap. But it was the show was fun, the crowd was great, so.
Okay.
So the Guns N' Roses performance of Knockin' on Heaven's Door was released in August of '92 as a double A-side with the original Guns N' Roses studio recording of the song, and it was also later featured on the band's Live Era 87 to 93 album. So the single entered the UK singles chart at number 2. The Guns N' Roses performance at the Freddie Mercury tribute was also included on a Blu-ray that was released from the tribute show as well. So that basically does it for this true story of the Guns N' Roses performance at the Freddie Mercury tribute show. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hit the comment section down below to let me know your thoughts. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of this video, and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do and you want to see more videos just like this. Take care.